So this story is of the Woad Warriors. They are refugees, Welsh refugees, to this new planet, and they plan to conquer, much like the Iceni nation under Boudicca. So I will give you some introductions. We've got, I can't pronounce their names, but they're Welsh names. Dynwen Davies, a female colonist, 20 years old, 24 years old, a fast walker, steadfast, hard worker, not a particularly good shooter. Gwen Griffiths, one of my shooters, a fast walker, steadfast, aesthetic, who has a lot of passions, which is good. We've got Morgan down here, another shooter who's kind and a jogger. Doesn't do art, though. Trillo, another one of my shooters, sanguine, fast walker, no medicine. And Griffiths, Gwendolyn Griffiths, who's a brawler, obviously getting the knife here. So I'm going to equip all their weapons first. There we go. Now some of them have relationships with one another. So Davies and Trillo are lovers, and Gwen and Dynwen Davies are actually married already. That's just how they rolled, and I decided to keep it. So right off the bat here, looking for some nice secure areas. I like this spot here. It is connected to a little bit of fertile ground with a steam geyser. There's more fertile ground down here, but I think this is where I will make my defense. So all of you guys are getting this, right? You're all... Yep, I believe so. How's the quality? Good? Good enough? Sharp? I'm not quite doing 1080p yet, but 720 is good enough, I suppose. So right off the bat, I'm going to adjust the work schedules, as one would always do. So it looks like I have a good warden, a bunch of animal handlers, actually, a few cooks, good hunters. No one's particularly great at construction, but there's some passions there. A fairly decent smith, an artist, a researcher. I mean, I have sort of a little bit of everything. So that is the hope, that I keep all my original colonists alive. So let me just take one more look around here. This is also not a bad zone, but it's attached to an ancient danger. Got some muffalo, which is nice. Good for caravanning. So we'll just get going here. There is a prefab here already built, so I'm going to use that prefab a little bit initially. I'm going to change the work priorities so that my constructors are constructing the ones that are good at it. And right off the bat, I'm going to throw some walls down and set up a few bedrooms. So we'll have a doors here like this, and this is tough. Might actually knock down this wall like that. There we go. That will be the initial bedrooms. So everyone else should be hauling, and I believe they are, which is great. Oh, uranium ore. That could really have been useful in my CI survival challenge. So they're getting building, and I'm building right into a mountain here. My hopes is not all of this entire mountain is overhead mountain, because I really like building into mountains, but not ones that will give me giant infestation swarms of definite murder and mayhem. That has happened in the past, and I'm not looking forward to repeating repeating that playthrough in any way. Alright, so while Gwen and Griffiths get building, the rest will start hauling all that stuff back over. I think it should be broadcasting live at this point. There was a bit of a weird hiccup with YouTube that had very little to do with me, I think. I just had to reset a bunch of settings, and I think we're back up and running now. Alright, so because we have two couples here, a married couple and a lovers couple, I can reduce the amount of bedrooms, which I think will be helpful, down to 3 bedrooms. Now, I do want to get them proper bedrooms pronto, but initially this is the resources I have. There are wolves and things. There are dangerous creatures in this zone, so I do have to be careful about that as well. But it looks like I have a nice patch of fertile ground right here, right under my nose, free to be harvested. Now, one thing I promised to make a change for the better, which is properly invest in defenses here. So if any of you have any great ideas for that, let me know. But I'm planning on having sort of a kill box with a deadfall trap area entry. That way, I'm not going to get overwhelmed like I did in the past. My past playthroughs have ended because of, you know, bad luck and ridiculousness. Whether it's giant infestation swarms that overrun everyone, or, you know, things of that nature. Alright, so just as a reminder, Davies and Trillo will get this bed. Morgan will get this bed. And the last one will be Gwen and Griffiths. Keep that all in mind. Who are the groups? So, getting some growing going. And I think what I'll do is eventually sort of wall off this area here to drive people to my entrance area, which I want maybe down here around there. We'll see about that. But first things first, I will get a bit of a kitchen area around here. Make it large enough to store a lot of food. I'm going to want some power generation. Now, instead of constantly cutting down trees, I'll just opt for the renewables right off the bat. I usually tend to go renewables rather than field generators, foregoing all that extra power for simplicity here. So they all have proper Welsh names. Now I think additional people that I add to the colony after will be named, but that requires capturing people and expanding, because I don't have any Wanderer join events, and I don't have any refugee pods. So the idea here is that the people I start with are the only people I ever really get, and I have to be very careful with them. So I'm going to try to take utmost care of making sure that I don't lose anyone to mistakes and things like that early on. Now, it's somewhat pointless to smooth the floor of a kitchen that's going to be full of rotten meat. Or not rotten meat, but raw meat and things. But I'll do it anyway. I think I'm actually going to slightly change this layout already to be slightly larger. Killer chinchilla army. Yeah, I mean, you know, I could go that route, but I might have a killer boom rat army though. Alright, so this area obviously is not accessible any further. but I could always toss a steel door there. I want a stonecutter's table right off the bat as well. But this doesn't leave a lot of room for a base. No, I haven't tamed anything yet. I didn't start with any animals or pets. So all you see, what you see is what you get right now. So we're setting up the little kitchenette area here. That's first. And I'll run power through the base. So now I have access to this little mining zone again. As you can see, my people are not very good builders. They're making quite a mess of the buildings that I have so far, but that's just the way it's going to be initially. They'll level up in due time, but they're pretty bad right now. So they're smoothing out this zone, trying to make it as pretty as can be. It's not going to be attractive, like I said, with all that raw meat. And I believe I do, right off the bat, have a decent cook, or at least people that are passionate about cooking. So I can only make simple meals, but fortunately I have two people that are very passionate about it. That was a bit of a problem in the past, where I didn't have anyone capable of cooking properly. So I need more materials for this, which means I need more steel. So that signifies that I have a little bit more hauling left to do over here. This little stockpile here, I can expand a little roof zone to get a lot of it from decaying. We'll see how much of that roof I can build out. So there's a little corner that didn't quite make it under the roof. But that's a cheap stockpile. Certainly not secure, but a cheap stockpile initially. Alright, so now I have a butcher table as well. I can start my hunt here. Now I'm going to make sure the three people that are default hunters are the people I in fact want hunting. So that is Morgan, Trillo, yep, and Gwen. All three have the survival rifles, so that's fine. And I'm going to start just by hunting what's close and work my way out. I'm going to hunt game that yields food too. I'm not going to waste time on tortoises and the like. Also not going to mess with boom rats. Just turkeys and things like that. Eventually I'll probably have some animal husbandry going. Yes, so it's 80 degrees in spring, or 60 degrees Fahrenheit in spring. None of them are cannibals. Not a single one. So here's the world that I've generated. It is a jungle world, as you can see. I settled in temperate forest on the edge of the jungle, near some people that I will raid in due time. Don't want to rush to it, but I'll get to it eventually. Now, another thing I need to check is I don't have any overhead mountains exposed yet, but when I do, and if I do, I need to take care of that pronto. So something that would be really useful to my cooks here is a meat or meal, both meat and meal stockpile here, which is going to be foods. And until I get kibble and chocolate and things like that, I can just make sure that they're putting all the food in there. So finally getting batteries up, and they're powering up. There is one tree in the way of this turbine. Now, some other nice things that would keep my people happy is the addition of a dining table. So I'll get that going soon. Now that I'm hunting, I also want to get refrigeration going, so I'm building that cooler, finally. I don't know if one cooler will be enough. I can always build a second, though. So let's try to get as much of this steel mined out now, so I can figure out how much of this mountain is bad. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to utilize this spot here as a kill window. Something I've utilized in the past, and I very much liked the result. So we'll see about that. Got a visitor. Looks to be a tribal visitor. There are some ship parts around here that I haven't queued up for destruction. I don't know how far they are, but I think that visitor was next to one of them, so I will queue that up. There should be 2 more. This scenario had 3 ship parts by default, but I can look for them later when I'm more strapped for components. So because I have, let's see, overhead mountain, none so far. That's good news. Amy, of course, hoping that I die from spiders like I did before. I'm gonna hope that doesn't happen to me, but I might not be the one truly running the show here, if you know what I mean. The storyteller makes decisions as well. So keeping their moods up. Morgan, a little bit more upset than the other ones that have spouses and lovers. So one more thing I can do here is gotta think about this real quick. Alright, so we'll call this the Iceni and New Wales. That sounds about right to me. So I'm going to change the bedroom setup just a tad here. Just a tad. Gonna move these bedrooms around a little bit. Now these are all temporary bedrooms, of course, to be finished and expanded upon soon. But my colonists here are just sort of feeling their way out, figuring what this zone will look like. So what I'm going to do here is install this bed here. And then I can plop a door here for easier access to the kitchen so they're not running all the way around constantly. That will surely free up some man hours. Can also get rid of this steel door. And right off the bat, I'm going to want some research. So I'm going to plop it right next to the batteries. Got our first hostile animal, a raccoon. Trash panda, as I like to call them. Yes, corn is very nutritious. Rice will get meals going sooner, though. I will get corn planted in no time. Raccoons down. Down for the count. Now, again, checking overhead mountains. I have none so far. This here is an overhead mountain spot, though. But none of this is, which is fortunate.